Don't your feelings.
All right, hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. We hope you're doing well. We hope you're doing good. And if you're watching this is going to be the first day of Eid. So Eid Mubarak, everyone. And yeah, we're all so glad to be here with all of you. And this is the last podcast for our Ramadan series. And whilst sorry, are you saying something?
No.
So this is the last podcast for our Ramadan series, and whilst we're sad this is coming to an end, we're not putting an end to our podcast, and we'll still be doing other podcasts discussing like anything under the sun and different themes, different topics. And if you have anything that you'd like us to discuss, you can email us, or if you'd like to be featured, you can also email us. And yeah.
Yep, so last week we spoke with Sapphira about navigating religious institutions and how conversations around queerness couldn't be better discussed between Muslim youth communities and organizations. And this week we're sitting down with Sya Taha to talk about queer parenting. Sya is a researcher, writer, activist, queer radical mother of 3, and is currently doing her PhD. She co-runs Queer Talk, a safe space for Muslims to discuss taboos. So let's just get things started. How are you doing? Right now?
Hi, I'm doing good. Pretty excited for Raya, which it will be by the time this comes out.
That's nice. How's it been in quarantine? Not quarantine, like in the circuit breaker with 3 kids?
Okay, so I have 2 kids on earth and 1 in heaven, so that's to take care of.
Right.
Actually, with the whole radical parenting thing comes into every aspect of my life, so it has not been very distressing for us. So we try to go out and let them play outside. Within the rules. I'm not breaking any rules.
Yeah, of course.
They're having a good time and they're getting toasty brown outside.
That's nice because as you can see, my color is fading.
Yeah, I see you're getting a bit pale.
I know. Horrible. How can I let this happen to myself? Yeah, so
the vitamin D is important. So
it is.
Them every day.
Yeah.
I know. I guess like it's different because like now like me and my siblings are all grown, so we're just all doing our own things. I guess like if you're younger, my mom would be like, out, let's go out. Right now sometimes she forgets. Sometimes she'll be like, John, let us all go for a walk. And then I'm like, Mom, I don't think that's allowed right now. And we're all so grown. So yeah. Anyway.
No, but I think like a sense of normalcy is also really important. Like they need to be able to still like have fun and everything.
Yeah. I think it's very confusing for them. Like especially with all the seeing all the masks, and soon when they go back to school they'll have to wear face shields, which is like, okay, I mean 17 years ago was SARS?
Yeah.
Okay, I was in JC and the only new normal was having thermometer checks every morning.
Right.
Now they're going to grow up with this memory of face shields, which is
that's weird. Oh, so they have to wear the plastic things. Well, I guess they can pretend that they're Tony Stark or something. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You want to start with the questions?
Yes. So, sorry, we just got a bit carried away.
Yeah, I know.
I think this kind of weaves into our next question as well, which is what are some things that you educate and talk to your children about?
In general.
Yeah.
I kind of go with what they ask me. So I mean, we've talked about so many things, but I can think of some things off the top of my head. Recently, we talked about disability. When I think as young as 3 or 4, we were talking about inclusive families. About kids that have 2 moms or 2 dads. And we were lucky as well to get a copy of what is that, the Penguin book? That Penguin book.
Oh, right. I think I've seen it around before. Yeah.
A friend gifted it to us, so that was good also for the conversation.
That's nice, yeah.
We talk about sex ed. So I think at maybe 3 as well, he was aware that he's a boy, and then he started going to school. He started nursery, so then he started being aware of like, yes, there's girls and there's boys. And at that time, his best friend was a boy that he also went to nursery with, and that he played with like every day for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So he would say like, I want to marry like this boy. And
yeah.
So then we started talking about like 3, 7, 7, 8, and I mean, well, not that specifically, but like started talking about like different laws and how you can marry like not in Singapore but in other countries. Yeah, right. And I think 3 as well is when he was aware of his gender,
right,
and like his private parts. So then, we would talk about like, I mean, he said the word penis and vagina a lot, also in public. So
right,
we were trying to identify people like, so like, does she have a vagina or penis, like really loudly? So I think that kind of just, okay, we just have to get used to it.
Right. I mean, then it makes it easier for you guys to play the penis game. I don't know if you know the penis game.
No,
it's like so within a group, right? Like one person will start saying penis, and then the next person must say it louder than you. My brothers and I always play this. So the loudest person, the next person who doesn't want to say it louder than the last person loses. So we'll always try. We all don't want to lose, but
you have to play it in public.
Yeah, we play it in public.
No, there was once I was with them, we were at Geylang Bazaar when Geylang Bazaar was still a thing, and they were just screaming out loudly. I'm just there like, oh no, I just gotta like pretend like I don't know these people.
Yeah, but like it's fun. I mean, yeah, you see, it happens. You just have to be comfortable with it. You just gotta make it a norm. Yeah, but that's nice though. I mean, like, I think I don't see. Okay, but I'm not a parent myself. I'm just like explaining the point of view of a child, right? I mean, growing up in a conservative family, like I used to want to read books. There were books in the library where they were like boys and girls, and then inside the book it just talks about like girls going through menstruation, and then how boys are attracted to like girls, and they talk about like all these things. And then I borrowed the book once, and then my mom was like, oh, very excited because the cover was pink. And most of the time I would borrow books about like fighting and stuff like that, so she's like, a pink book, good, right? So yeah, she's like, cool. But then like when I was reading it, she peeped over, and then she saw like the picture of a body, and then like a naked body, and she's like, she took the book and she's like, cannot, this book, not now, not now. Like, so I mean, like, so it's I guess it's different and refreshing to see that like you're talking about like gender with kids that young, and I feel like it should be a norm, because why not, right? It's only normal.
So do y'all just like sit down and have a chat, or like do you actually prepare materials and all that? Just like, how do you actually go through the educating?
So it usually starts with a question from him, and then I will just try to address the question that he's asking with the amount of information that he's asking for. You can try and kind of gauge, and if he asks more questions, I will try to answer. And then these conversations happen over there'll be multiple conversations that happen over a period of time, and it'll be like, sometimes it's the same question, sometimes it's like a little bit of something else, something more. And I just try to kind of like meet him where he is, because I read somewhere like, kids take time to absorb the information as well. So at different ages, they are curious about different things, and they're looking for answers to different things. So it's definitely better than, you're being 13 years old and then you get suddenly like, sit down and let's have the talk, which will be so awkward. And also, I mean from the parents' perspective, it's also, because it's so many small conversations, it becomes easier. Like, even my own brain is like rewired to just like, all right, let's just address this much. And then if he asks for more, then maybe he might want to see like a diagram, or we could find a book about it. But so far, I've never really like prepared anything. I just try to like kind of keep it open and say like, but it depends. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, since they're very, like, I'm sure he's very young, right? So what's the tough How is it?
He's
How he's 6? Oh, I remember being 6 and being. I had a lot of questions. So I mean, like, what was the toughest question that he's ever asked you? Period. Yeah.
I so like when we go out, like me and my kids don't like our skin colors don't really match.
Nah.
My 6-year-old kind of looks like me, but my younger one is really like much fairer. Her hair is like light brown. So one and when we go out, it has happened a lot, like almost every day that I get mistaken for a domestic worker. So I think the toughest question was when he was able to verbalize, and he asked me, why did that auntie shout at you?
Right.
Because I had to like explain, okay, so racism. I had to
Right.
explain this whole system of migrant work that is quite unique to Singapore, like live in migrant work.
Yeah.
And then I have to explain like us. I mean, of course, when he doesn't see my skin color as being a problem.
Right.
Kids do see color and they see it just as a color. So he will go on and on about like, yeah, mama is brown and papa is white. But that to them, they don't assign a hierarchy to the colors.
Right.
Yeah, it's like our world that does. And then having to explain that is like, okay, how much information do I give? How can I make this simple to understand and in a way that he can absorb? Yeah, and try to find that balance between like too much and too little information. But because this happens to us a lot, now he understands. And he will say like, "Oh, mama, is it because the auntie thought that you are a worker? That's why she shouted."
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
yeah. I mean, that's a lot for a kid to handle, but I think it's also good that they're asking this question so that when they grow up, they know how to navigate this world in a much more nuanced way, if that makes any sense. But why do you think this is necessary? Why do you think this kind of parenting, this kind of answering questions in the way that you do is important?
I still remember as a kid, like not getting the answers that I was looking for. I remember just something very simple, like I think I asked, okay, so every kid will ask this eventually. They'll ask like, where do babies come from? And my parents were like so embarrassed, like they didn't want to address it at all. So I think I was like probably a teen when I found out. I think I read a dictionary or something, and I think like I didn't want my kids to feel that kind of like you're not being listened to, you're not taken seriously, because we are that being ignored or being dismissed often like will carry on to adulthood.
Yeah.
So I just want them to be like emotionally healthy and well adjusted and to not have to like recover from their childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from in a sense where like sometimes from personal experience also, it's like I as a kid I used to ask a lot of questions. Like I cannot shut up. Like until I think my 7th or my 6th birthday, my aunt and uncle got me a book and it literally says 1,000 questions and answers.
I had that kind of book too.
Yeah.
like 1,001 facts. I love those books.
Yeah, I mean like because I had so many questions for everything and I just couldn't shut up and I just wanted to know. After the answer I would just continuously ask and ask and ask. I mean I can see why like adults will get tired, right? I mean, but yeah, I mean it's nice to have like answers to these kind of questions, because if not then the other dangerous aspect that I can see is that we turn to like the internet, right? And then sometimes with the internet, without proper guidance and whatnot, like it could turn out to be misinformation and stuff like that. It's as simple as like, oh, if you get a cough, you Google why am I coughing, then they can give you like various diagnoses, and that could be not what you're looking for, right? And for kids especially, and in the age of the internet, if if parents are not the first step to where they want to ask their questions, it could be quite interesting. I don't know, but I'm not a parent. I'm just this.
No, I think when you bring up the danger aspect, that becomes quite pertinent when it comes to sex ed, because when he was like 3 or 4 and he was learning the names for the private parts, right, it was very important. I was reading that it was important that he knows the right names for it. So if somebody, like, molests him or does something, that he knows to say what happened. So
Right.
if we use like cutesy names like, oh, your, I don't know, your birdie or your cookie or whatever, and then it's like, well, somebody touched my cookie, it's like that is people think, yeah, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
I think that discourse of language is also really interesting, that people would, I guess, talk to kids like as if, like, I know they're kids, but like the way the discourse and the way they talk about certain terms, the kind of language they use, it can potentially minimize like their experiences of like their everyday life.
And I think it's also like related to our own histories as we grow up, because at the same time as well, I want them to learn Malay. So, okay, trying to combine sex ed with learning the Malay language is so difficult, because I can't even bring myself to say the terms in Malay for the private parts.
I still don't know what the terms are, honestly.
So, there's like the I think like the formal Malay terms, which are actually from Arabic, which is zakar for penis.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is for vulva in like formal Malay. But then in Pasar Malay, we would say pepe and connect. And oh my god, like, I feel like so embarrassed, because as a kid, like, it was used in such a negative way.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's also something, like, I have to unlearn, and I have to so I'm like, okay, English, we'll just use English, so at least they can say penis and vulva.
Yeah, that's quite funny actually, because like I think like growing up, my late grandma they would call it cendawan. I can never understand. Yeah. I don't know. So for the longest time, until I think there was this one encounter where someone was like, you want to eat cendawan? I was like, why would you say that?
Oh my god.
Why would you say that? And then my friend was like, mushroom. Do you want mushroom? I was like, oh. Cool.
That is a great example, actually.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah. I know, right? Oh my god. But yeah, so horrible. I still remember being so embarrassed.
When you edit the video, can you add in like a mushroom emoji? That'd be great.
All right. Okay. I will. Oh my god. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, which brings us to our next point, right? I guess like you can say that like the way you parent your kids is gonna be, even during our time, like even during this time, like your age of parenting, the way you parent is gonna be so different from how other parents parent their kids. Like, so how do you think, like, what tips can you give to other parents who want to break that barrier, or like who want to break from generational wounds but have no idea how to start? You know what I'm saying?
It starts with yourself. So for yourself to actually unlearn your own, to do your own unlearning of whatever prejudices, whatever fears. Also to be proactive in your own self-education, because it's going to be probably hard to find resources in the mainstream. You have to, look in like your alternative circles, activist circles, for those kinds of resources that would really be like inclusive or progressive, something that you would be comfortable with. And to also like work on your own like communication. So if you want to have that relationship with your child that they can tell you everything, then you also have to listen to them without judging them. And that can be hard if you grow up not being listened to, and then having like a defensive type of communication. where if the child says anything, then as a parent, you just take it as a personal attack. But I mean, kids will say anything. Kids will say like, "I hate you, I hate you forever," kind of
Yeah.
thing. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
It's just at that stage of development, and us as the adult, as the bigger person, we are literally the bigger person, right?
Yeah.
And we have to not take it personally, and not judge as well. And that's also linked to like trying to meet their needs, because they are the ones who are not fully developed yet in their mind, in their body. And even though as adults, like, we have our own issues, we at least can access resources to heal ourselves, whereas they don't. So we have to take the lead in that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think now, because I'm just thinking about being queer Muslim in general, when you said that like parents tend to get really defensive. I think I don't know about other people's parents, but for me it was a lot of like my parents getting really defensive and be like, no, like she's not like that, or she's just fine, like she's straight or whatever, even though that's not the case. And for me, it's like I want to like talk to my parents about it, because I think it's I've grown to this stage of my life where I'm really comfortable with who I am, and I think it's like not necessarily to like come out or whatever, but if the conversation is there, I think it would be really good and really healthy for a relationship to have that sort of conversation. But I guess like how do you think youth can even begin to like talk to their parents about sexuality or queerness in general? And is there some, like, if you think there is some sort of approach that would work best?
I think it really depends on the parent, on the youth themselves, and also that family dynamic. The best way would be like your own way. So if you grow up with parents that in other aspects of your life you cannot talk to them, they because of certain toxic behaviors that they have, they are unable to listen to you without judgment. And it's probably likely that this topic will also be one of those topics that will be brushed off, right?
Right.
So I would like try and have a feel of the situation, and if it doesn't, but at the same time, you never know. Maybe they can surprise you. So you can kind of go in with like a story if there's something in the media or like a book. But again, I don't feel this is the responsibility of the youth, of the child. If it hasn't happened when the child is a teenager, it may also be dangerous, and I would definitely advise to keep your safety first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, okay, if there will be parents watching, just how if they have a queer child, then if their child just came out to them, right? This is obviously the child coming out to them. And I think at first maybe their reaction was horrible. But how do you think they can like adjust or come back from that? Like, what would your advice be?
Well, assuming like the parents are like healthy and well adjusted, they're not like toxic or narcissistic or anything, right?
Right.
So if they want, there's resources for like parents of queer children.
Yep.
If you ask like some of the local NGOs, they have those resources. And I think also like a support group for other parents. So you can start with actually talking to your child and really listening to them.
Right.
And try and really listen for like what are their concerns. Why is it that until now the parents didn't know that the child was queer? Maybe the child themselves doesn't know it until now. But I think just really kind of giving that listening ear without judgment, and then go from there. Try to meet the child's needs.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess like, okay, I just had a
What are the experience of both of you?
for
Has that
both.
happened?
I guess for me, like I was outed by a relative to my parents. And ever since then, my parents have just been keeping tabs on my social media. Actually, it was just recently, like a couple of days ago, my dad spoke to me about the first podcast we did, which was about reconciling faith and sexuality. And we sat down, we had that whole talk, but I still felt like whilst he was really, like he gave his best shot at listening, but it still felt like at the end of the conversation, it still felt very invalidated, which was tough because for me to even like, as obviously a queer Muslim, as someone who wears the hijab, like there's like that additional like belief that we're more religious or we're supposedly on the straight path. And like it was hard for me to even tell my parents like, yeah, like I'm queer. Like they had to like find that out through other means. But at the end of everything, I still felt really like negated, like as if like literally he just said it's just like a face.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, same lah. I think for me, like, I got outed like years ago. Like, someone sent a picture to my mom without my knowledge of me and my ex-girlfriend. And then, yeah, I didn't know about the picture. I just knew that she was yelling. She was suddenly saying like, "Why are you queer? Are you queer?" Blah blah blah. And then, yeah, and then years later, like, I found a picture. So I was like, this was the cause of like this whole drama. But like, yeah, I mean, up till now, I still think that it's not necessary for me to like explicitly come out to my mom. It's just like if she knows, she knows. I'm not gonna rub it in her face. That yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, this happened to me as well. Like when I was 20, I was outed. My dad was going through my computer.
Yeah.
He was going through my things. I mean, my parents do that because toxic
Yeah.
family, there are no boundaries. So they were going through my stuff, and like they found a letter of my ex-girlfriend, and
Oh, no.
they found stuff in my laptop. And so what I would do now would be the exact opposite of what they did. They made it all about themselves.
Right.
It was all about like their how they were bad parents. And so having that, I like, for me at that time, I needed to be heard or just to explain. I think at the time I never even outed to myself that I was bi, and
Right.
when there was their drama adding into the chaos, it was very confusing and very distracting. And I also feared for my safety and the person I was dating at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I then until like a few years ago, actually, that my parents are toxic. My dad's a narcissist, so I would not have expected it of them.
Yeah.
And now I don't blame myself, for like leaving my stuff out there, because like for you, like having that picture, that it's not the fault of that picture or your fault. It's
Yeah.
them.
Right. Yeah. Which is why like we wanted to ask you a question, because like we realized that it's a common thing, right? Like people take it on themselves to help like queer youth to out themselves to their parents. It's like it's ridiculous, right? If the child is not ready, don't do it. But like it's like people, they are just capo lah, right? But so I guess like in a sense, like we're asking like how would you advise parents to handle a situation where like their child has been outed to them without a choice? Like how should these parents, I mean, like given if they're toxic or whatever, like if they are looking at this video, there must be a certain aspect that's searching, right?
I hope so.
Answers. Yeah. What would your advice be, you reckon?
My advice would just be to just withhold judgment, listen to your kid, and try to support them. Figure out what they need. Sometimes maybe the kid may just need space. That's often what like teens and young adults need. You just need to figure things out.
Yeah.
So we just say like, if you want to talk about it, then I'm here.
Right.
And as a parent, you just have to control yourself. Do not snoop and do not go looking around, because you will never know what they are going through and what is their perspective on things. The only way you will know if you really listen to them.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, yeah. So just to clarify, in case, so it's just like, so do you think the parents should approach the child or should wait for the child to approach them? Because they already have this information, you know?
Even if you have the information, doesn't mean you have to do anything with it. I mean, I
Yeah.
would just wait for my
Right.
child to approach me. Maybe I would like hint. I would say like, you can talk to me.
Yeah. Hints.
Just
Hint,
show
hint.
that you are like, just show that you're like woke and like
Yeah,
into.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw this news that day and like
Yeah.
about a gay man or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think now I'm starting to think about, I think because this is like obviously Ramadan and we're talking about like being Muslim and all that. What about parents who, feel very strongly in their faith and like their religion? How can they reconcile that fact between their child being queer and their own personal beliefs and standpoints regarding like spirituality and all that?
Okay, well, I think ideally is to do that unlearning I was talking about and the self-education.
Mm-hmm.
The resources are there. If maybe you guys already have come across it, about there's plenty of rereadings about the verses on the people of Nabi Lut.
Yeah.
Now there's also resources. There are like so many institutions and groups around the world that accept queer Muslims.
Yep.
Have like Jummah prayer, they have marriages between Muslims. So all those resources are there. But if you can't, then at least just keep your beliefs to yourself because you will have to do that in every aspect of your life anyway. If
Right.
you are homophobic, you can't go around in public like saying it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? If you're like racist, you can't
Yeah.
doing that, right? If you want to live in society.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just focus on the fact that, this is your child. You're still responsible for bringing your child to the world. So deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a very good point. The point where you say like, oh, you can't do this in public, why do it to your child? Right? I mean, but that's I feel like in general that's certain family dynamic where it's pretty toxic, where like you are so much ruder to like your family, but then you will never be this extent of rude to people in public because they will tell you off. And people in general don't like to be told off. So I feel like maybe like as parents also you need to realize like your kids are also like just people like they're just people.
They need to be respected as well.
Yeah.
They deserve your respect even when they are young, they're babies with their kids. Part of respectful parenting is like, for example, they say like before you pick up a baby, let the baby know you're picking the baby up.
Yeah.
Be smart there. Hey, I'm gonna change your diaper now, kind of thing. And if you start there, you can build the habits into adulthood.
Yeah, that's a
that's
mental note. Yeah.
That's
But
actually
I do agree that if I mean, coming from the youth's perspective, if you know already that your parents are homophobic or toxic in other ways, then you may not be able to have both. To have a relationship with your parent and also your own safety. So you may need to choose one or the other. If having a relationship means you have to have your boundaries violated and yourself invalidated. Because what you are, like your real existence in your truth, is not being accepted. So in a way, it's like you don't exist. And if you still live with your parents and you're dependent on them, like financially dependent on them, then you may have to find a strategy to be able to live with them while hopefully, until you move out or something. There's a strategy for like dealing with narcissists. It's called gray rock. So that means you just become as a gray rock. You don't give them any data about yourself.
Right.
So that also means you have to also work on yourself to let go of hoping for a better relationship with your parents. If it because I think when I was younger and I had just been outed and I thought like, oh, it's my fault. Now I've made this relationship with my parents bad. Like I've damaged it because I was outed.
Right.
And then only maybe the last few years I really realized, right, it was not up to me to make the relationship better. If
Right.
the parents are not open and do not have that kind of inner peace to come halfway and listen to you and make the relationship better, then there's nothing really like the child can do. I know it sounds so pessimistic, but like eventually in adulthood
Yeah.
you have to choose between one or the other. You it doesn't mean you don't love your parents, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you're grateful for everything they've done for you, but certain aspects of your needs that they cannot meet, then you have to let go of wanting them to meet that need, because
Right.
you can fulfill that need elsewhere, and you can fulfill that need yourself. So you need to be accepted. You accept yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's beautiful, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know. I think I'm. Sorry, what were you saying?
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think because for a lot of at least queer youth, especially with the media right now, that we see so much uplifting and empowering stories about queer youth and all of that. I think we can't help but also feel some sort of hope or kind of want or need that sort of acceptance. And when you don't find that, it can be really hard. Not just that it affects the relationship, but I think it also affects your own personal relationship with yourself. So how do you think youth who actually go through this issue of like wanting acceptance but not finding it can, I guess, heal would be the term?
One one of the ways of healing is to be in places where you are normal. So that means being around other queer people, being around allies. Um, Sometimes it can be really nice to just have like an older person, somebody like the age of your parents. If you can find an ally that age, that
Yeah.
person does in a way help to mother or parent you in a way that you have hoped for in your own parents. I mean, I happen to find that in like one of my friend's moms. I just happen to know her like through, from the neighborhood, and then it's not specifically on like queer issues that she is inclusive, but just in general that she's open and can listen to you. Sometimes it can be like a mentor, like a teacher or a counselor. Um, I think when you're younger, you do need that external support. But I think I found that as I got older, now in my 30s, as your brain develops as well, you're more able to be self-sufficient emotionally, which would be the ideal, that you should be able to regulate yourself, parent yourself, give yourself what you need. So when you talk about like self-care, it's not that external, like I go for pedicures and stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
self-care, that's self-parenting. So whatever you needed as a child, as an adult, give it to yourself. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I mean, I'm just like
Yeah, I think I'm
understands.
like trying to like not cry because I think that was something that I really needed to hear at this stage of my life.
Oh, so glad. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets easier. It gets easier. That's all I can say.
No, I love you, baby. Okay.
Oh my god, stop.
Okay,
So
let's
I think the fairy lights like fell or something. Like lampu plastic fell. So very sad. Yes.
but yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's I'm sure it would be really helpful to hear because I mean sometimes like Abira said, like we really have this expectation of our parents to fulfill our needs. But like
Oh,
okay,
true. You do. That's what we expect of our parents. They are
yeah.
supposed to fulfill our needs. They're
Yeah.
supposed to.
But yeah, I guess we will reach a point in our lives where we're like, okay, you know what, like that time is whatever. They did their best. Now it's on us. Yeah. But
That's
to
what community is for. You're
yeah,
going to find that love and acceptance
yeah,
and care from community.
yeah, hopefully. Okay.
Oh, hugs. Okay.
Oh, yeah, big heart.
I feel like this has become a session for me.
It's all right. We're all good.
So yeah, I think yeah. I mean, I think like what you said, I think it will help so many people watching this as well. And I'm really glad that we're actually like having this conversation. I did not expect myself to like feel this way. But it's great. I think it's really necessary, and a lot of people actually need to hear this and know that that they're not alone, and that they can be listened to, and that there are ways where they can heal, and I guess grow in their own ways as well.
Yeah. All right. Shall we wrap things up?
Yep.
And we all can have a good cry.
We're all water signs.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap things up, we always ask this to our guests. Just don't ask us back the question, because the previous podcast someone asked us back the question that we could not answer. But like, okay, to wrap things up, we like to ask you, like, is there a favorite verse in the Quran that you hold close to your heart?
Yeah, so I just learned this recently as well. This about the grammar in this verse, which is Anna 16, which is Surah 16, and the ayat is 97.
Okay.
It says, whoever does good, whether male or female, while being a believer, we, that is God, will cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward according to the best of what they do. And I learned recently from Dr. Amina Wadud that this verse actually contains pronouns. It contains references to men, to women, and also to them, all in one sentence.
Wow.
So the sentence actually changes in who it's directed to by the time it ends. So I thought this was like a great example of how because the verse is talking about like if you do good, then that's what matters.
Yeah.
You will be judged based on what you do, and that itself, the structure of the ayat has that inclusivity in it. It's addressing whether you are male, whether you are female, and then according to what they do. So there's them as well.
Yeah.
Of course, in Arabic, it's like a plural, masculine, plural, which can refer to men or women. So I thought that was really nice. So it's gonna be my favorite verse now on.
Yeah,
That's nice.
That's very nice. I think this has been a very educational session for us, and also hopefully like whoever's that is watching this, it has been something. It's a different topic lah. I mean, I'm sure most of whom who are watching this are people of our age, but there are people who are older who also watches, keep tabs on our podcast. Hopefully they're not the ones outing us.
Send it around to my work friends, okay?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, it has been different. You have managed to make Abida cry in this short time. No, but that's a good thing.
I know in my time, like, I mean, not say I'm so old, but like 10 years ago when I was in uni and very like into activism, like trying to be in all this community work, there was no space to say anything like this.
Yeah.
And I can say just be in like the space of 10 years, it's so different now. We have a lot of alternate spaces, a lot of online spaces, and I'm really glad that you can find your community this way.
Yeah, I think like we were talking about it sometime before. We were like we're thankful for the people before us, because if not for the cause that they have championed, we wouldn't be able to experience this as well. And also because people have become braver to speak about this type of things, and I think it's amazing, and hopefully it just gets better in time. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we're gonna end this off. So thank you so much for sharing tips. Yeah. No worries. Thank you for taking your time out of the day. And we will definitely keep the tips in mind. And I hope whatever you have shared today will be a great opportunity for parents or caretakers watching to learn new styles. And also for me as a queer person, it's touching to know that the younger queer generations wouldn't have to go through, like I said, wouldn't have to go through what people in the past go through, and hopefully in the future wouldn't have to go through what we have to go through. And I think it's inspiring and hopeful, and especially what you said at the end, that will definitely help in the hopeful part. And yeah, if you're keen to follow Sya, and know more about her work for the community, you can follow her at Sya Taha. I'll put all the links in the description box below, and you should also follow Crit Talk SG and show them some love as well, right? And if you've yet to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. And if you're watching the full podcast on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. And yeah, so actually, right, before we end our podcast, we always make our guests do one thing. It's a bit lame, but are you ready?
What is it? I'm game. What is it?
Okay, so we must say this together. So we must say till next time. Skirt, skirt.
Skirt, skirt. Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna
Together.
Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2. Hold hands. Okay, guys, let's hold hands. 3, 2, 1.
Till
Till next time. Skirt, skirt.
Skirt.